All right, Kampula Blue Afghani Community Radio. Your time now is the 19 minutes after the hour, 1 o'clock. Benchiloke, we are going to be in conversation with Chumani Nobongoza, founder and business consultant at Requisite. Namhlanje ke sizojonga le meko ye strategy around marketing, focusing kweli promotion, and which is also a very important aspect that as business owners, as abantu abashishina, we need to, find ways of looking into it more and understanding it better. Right now, Chumani in studio already. Mandimbulise Chumani, and welcome to the show.
Dibulise kuwe sis Thandi nabaphula phuli. Good afternoon.
Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us. All right, namhlanje ke sithetha ngalomcimbi we strategy in marketing and looking at promotion. And I think the first thing I would like to ask is how important is in marketing when you are running a business to its success, to the success of a business? How important is it, for a person to dial down on marketing?
Marketing is very important, Thandi, in the sense that there's a lot of competition in whatever industry that you are in. Mm-hmm. There will always be a competitor unless you are the first to enter that particular industry. Mm-hmm. Then obviously you will have a window period where you are the industry leader, mm-hmm. and as a result you then become the incumbent. Okay. In that particular industry. But window period, it just depends on when the other competitors come in. Maybe they start looking at the success yako as the industry leader, yes, and then they want to mimic, and then they want to enter the industry because now all of a sudden you're making profits. So there's always a window period if you are the first to enter that particular industry. But if there's already competition and there's already a model that works within that particular industry, you've done your research, mm-hmm. and you have the capital to invest in that particular business, then the marketing becomes even more important. Okay. Because now in the mind of a consumer, you have to remember that your consumer is always looking at choices on a day-to-day basis. Okay. When they walk into a shop, it doesn't matter how big the shop is. So a consumer is always presented with options. So what you want to then do, you want to position yourself in the mind of the consumer, mm-hmm. so that a consumer, if they were using product A, then they have a reason to switch to your product as a product B, C, D, or whatever. Mm-hmm. You understand? So that's where now the power of marketing comes in. That's where the power of advertising comes in. And you'll notice that competition is so intense these days that a lot of businesses even have what you would call your loyalty point schemes, mm-hmm. your reward mm-hmm. programs. And that's all in an effort to give you as a consumer another reason to stick to that particular brand that you have chosen or that you've been supporting for the last couple of years. Or it gives you another reason to switch, to say, you know what, I've been loyal to brand A for 10 years. Mm-hmm. Let me try something new. Then that's where the power of marketing combined with advertising will then play a role in pushing you to the right direction as the consumer.
That is quite that's a mouthful, and I think truly you are basically saying it is very, very important that a business intentionally looks at marketing and advertising so that they push this business. And I think I like what you're saying, that a consumer has got so many different options, and you want to be the option of choice. You want to position yourself to be the option that they go for, which is quite interesting. And my interest now goes towards, but why is it that the very, whenever challenges happen or, things like the pandemic and whatever troubles come to a business, one of the very first places where cost cutting happens is at marketing? It baffles me really about why is that, and coupled with that, secondly, smaller businesses don't even understand what marketing is all about or the importance or the need, the necessity, and they wouldn't even allocate budgets, and intentionality, even time to marketing. So why is that a reality?
That's a good observation that you've made there, Thandi. And I would simply say this: when it comes to cutting ad expenditure or your marketing expenditure, you have to remember what we spoke about when we were talking about liquidity ratios. The last time we spoke, remember we touched on acid test ratio, we touched on quick ratio as well. So one of the ways that businesses maintain that liquidity position is to either cut on advertising and marketing. Alternatively, it's to cut staff.
Okay.
Yes. So now you have to, as you pointed out, pandemic, no one knows what's going to happen. There's a lot of uncertainty and anxiety. So as the CEO or as the board of the business, you now have to make that decision. Do I let go of staff? Or do I just reduce marketing? Bearing in mind that when you reduce marketing, right, you are also in a way cutting down on staff, because the ad agency that was getting that amount, X amount from you, the revenue, they are no longer getting that revenue from you now anymore if you were to decide as the board to cut ad expenditure. So you can see now the ripple effect. So now the ad agency now has to look at their books and say, okay, we're no longer getting X revenue from this company. How do we then deal with that? You see, so it's always a tricky situation. Hence, you find that your most well-known brands, they put a lot of thought and effort into their advertising campaigns and the way they engage with their customers, their activations, because they know that at some point things won't be so good that they now have to maintain that type of interaction and that type of advertising.
All right.
So the reason you now put so much thought into an advert, you want your advert to be top of mind in the consumer's mind. So that even if we get to a point like we did with COVID, where now we have to cut ad expenditure, you as a company, you already know that you've occupied this position now in the mind of the consumer. So you no longer have to spend that much on your advertising. If you are advertising, if you are doing activations, it's just as a reminder to say, hey, we're still around. A company that does this quite well, because it's been around for a very long time, is Coca-Cola. You'll notice that adverts, Coca-Cola, they have this emotional how can I call it?
Curtain behind.
Exactly, because they want because they want to engage the consumer as much as possible on an emotional level. I remember they had that brrr campaign where a while back. Yes. Now someone, my younger cousin, he would imitate that advert, because that's the thing that really connected with him on an emotional level, using humor. So my younger cousin, he would like literally imitate that brrr, sound effect, knowing that it's Coca-Cola. So now years later, Coca-Cola doesn't necessarily need to spend as much on the advertising, because they've been consistent at engaging their customers on an emotional level. Another brand that does this quite well using humor, Nando's. You see, so immediately Nando's came to your mind as a consumer the minute I said humor. So you immediately thought of Nando's. Someone else might think of Chicken Licken.
Sure. Yes.
So that's where now your best advertising agencies, if I can put it like that, come in, into the picture to say, if we are going to handle this advertising campaign for you, we need to make it worth your while, so that if someone sees the advert today, 3 years from today, they can still remember that particular ad, because it had that emotional connection with that consumer. So that means now Chicken Licken, Nando's, Coke can get away with just dumbing it down a bit, slowing it down when it comes to advertising, because they've already created that emotional connection with you as a consumer, and they've been consistent at it. Because Nando's has been consistent with the humor situation. Hence, the first thing that came to mind was Nando's for you as a consumer.
Wow, quite interesting. And I think, you know what, basically what you were saying, Sencho, in terms of the whole picture that you've just painted now, it goes to the strategy. So it's more like those brands that you're mentioning would be using a strategy that is much more impactful over a longer period of time, so that they can be able to make that rand go like further, stretch it to its maximum, which is also a strategy that one can be able to look into. Exactly. And I think now it makes me think also to allow you to speak more around the strategy that one can implement in doing their marketing, in doing their promotion of their business, in doing their advertising, especially when you're a smaller business. You think about so many different options that you could go for when you're doing marketing. How important is it to have actually a strategy, a marketing strategy? Because you can do e-marketing all willy-nilly, like off the top of your mind, and you might not be able to get the results that you're looking to get. So how important is it to have like a specific, well thought out, a structured strategy that goes into your marketing and your advertising to promote your business?
So the most important question that you would need to ask yourself as the business owner is, how is my marketing strategy or my channel strategy going to differentiate my business from the competition?
Okay.
And how long is that going to last?
Okay.
Because what you want to do as a business, as a brand, as a service, you basically want to create a differential advantage.
Okay.
Something that is unique to your particular business that I can't get anywhere else, which simply means that I, as the consumer, I'm willing to make more sacrifices to buy and to support your brand, because brand Thandisa just has that thing special about it that I won't get anywhere else.
Okay.
So I would rather leave the comfort of home, get into my car or hop into a taxi, diambe a shop to get this particular brand, because une differential advantage that is very difficult to copy, right? So if your marketing and your channel strategy and your distribution leads to a differential advantage that makes you unique, then I would say marketing should be top of mind. It should be at corporate level. It should also communicate with business level.
Okay.
Right? And the tools should be in synergy, because that means that functional level, it will be easier to implement. So your foot soldiers, you're basically making the job easier for your foot soldiers. So if your marketing and your distribution give you an added advantage, right? And sharpen a competitive edge yako as a business owner, then I would say it is very important. You cannot overlook it. You cannot overstate the importance of it. So I'll give you an example.
Okay.
I was at Enana Bistro in Berlin.
Okay.
A while back. I think it was 2 weeks back. So I did not notice that there's a soft drink called Mandlovu ginger beer.
Okay.
Right? So I saw the bottle, and in my head I thought fruit tree.
Okay, in terms of the
shape.
design.
Yes, because someone else was sitting at a table further from where we were sitting, and I couldn't see the label, so I could only see the back.
Other side.
Yes. So in my head, I'm thinking, okay, fruit tree. Okay, fine, move on. We do what we need to do. I go to the fridge, and I'm thinking, but this is the same bottle I saw. And now I can see, because it's a fridge and it's right in front. It's a Mandlovu ginger beer.
Okay.
And I'm thinking, wow, okay, and I'm curious, so let me see taste and teeny situation with this ginger beer. You understand? So my point is getting to the lady who is situated as Beleni, right? Upoti. She's the one who I would say owns the brand or runs the brand, because we didn't get into much detail. But my point is that from where she operates as Beleni, she saw the need to first make sure that her brand is available locally.
Local in the area. Okay.
Yes. Remember, in Nana Bistro na isanduvula. It hasn't been around that long. But now, her brand, Umandlovu Ginger Beer, is competing with the likes of Fanta, or Sprite, or Coke, your bottled water. Because when I saw the brand, it was right in front. So, in her head, making sure that her brand is available locally first, was a strategic move.
Okay.
Because once then I started speaking to her, I also found out that it's also available in Novi, up at town, Nase Laxmolen, which is BNP. So part of her strategy is to align her brand with the hospitality industry first before she gets the capacity to go into retail.
Sure.
Which is FMCG. So obviously, a spa, for example, they would want to know a capacity. Are you going to be able to deliver X pellets of your soft drink a week? Or what's the situation? Because they're looking to buy bulk, because that's part of their liquidity strategy, to buy bulk and get those discounts. But she does not have the capacity at the moment. And remember, I'm assuming, because I didn't get into much detail with her, but I'm assuming from the moves that she's made, from the information that she's given me, it's an intentional strategy to say, let me look at these niche businesses. Because remember, ukutya kwasenana bistro akuzofana nokwasespare, because uspare has a uniformed way of making a T-bone steak or onion rings or calamari or whatever, and it's something that works because it's a franchise. Whereas with her, since it's a niche business, she can afford to have that personal touch it, which then differentiates that particular business. So in this case, Mandlovu Ginger Beer, part of her strategy and the difficult decision that she needed to make was to say, okay, let me not bite off more than I can chew in terms of approaching Upig and Bay no Spa just yet. Let me start locally, build from there. Build the capacity of the business. And obviously, at some point, once we have a capacity, we have a small warehouse, let's say maybe Equindustria, and we've invested in a machinery. That's where a capital expenditure comes in. Maybe let's say she gets a grant or whatever the situation is, influx your money into the business. Then she can look at saying, okay, now that we've covered these smaller establishments, maybe one is outside of town, I'm just thinking of towns that are nearby, then we can start looking at approaching your bigger retailers to say, guys, this is our track record, these are the establishments that we are working with. Can you give this brand a chance on your shelves?
Interesting. And I think, you know what, a lot of small businesses have, hit themselves in the foot, shot themselves in the foot with going the approach of, because I don't have a strategy really around how I market and promote my business, I then decide I'm just going to chase a retail. And halfway down the line, I'm not able to supply. The demand is more than I can produce or manufacture. And next thing I lose a contract. And because, it's so sensitive, because once you get into the retail space and you're not able to deliver the capacity that is required, even when you have now taken time to, this has not worked out, let me rework and rethink and re-strategize and redo the whole approach, then when you're trying to knock again, it's like, you are that guy.
We gave you a chance, you didn't take your opportunity. And you have to remember the nature of competition in retail alone, when you're looking at your big brands, is that it's every man for himself. So the floor manager, for example, at Spa, if you're approaching them with your little brand, Mandlovu Ginger Beer, that guy has leverage, because they know that if foot traffic alone that goes in and out of a spa is so much that it can give your brand that type of exposure. So they have the bargaining power, and it's easier for them to push you into a corner to say, let's make this an exclusive deal. So that says, but Mandlovu Ginger Beer is only sold through Spa. So that now puts you in a corner as a small business owner, because now what if the relationship doesn't work out the way you had intended? Let's say now you don't have the challenges that you just mentioned.
Okay.
You can supply, you've got the machinery, you always on time, that just-in-time system.
Sure.
But the relationship is just, it's not working out. And you've already signed and you've committed to X amount orders
Time.
over unyaka. And now it becomes messy to get out of it. Whereas in her case, Uputi, what she's done, she's been very smart to say, okay, fine, there's a spot now, esanduvula, esbeleni, eyaziwayo, popular. Let me make sure it's available up. Let me not stop here. Let me make sure I sit down in Novi so that if umuntu uhlala eMlungisi okanye uhlala apha town, they don't have to go all the way to Esbeleni to experience ilanduzi brand yabo. They can just go to a Novi. Yes. If someone is coming from out of town, they've heard of Ilaxmolen, they go to Ilaxmolen and they're like, oh, okay, breakfast. Okay, after a coffee, oh, Nansi Mandlovu Jinjapi, I've never seen this brand before. Let me try it out. So in that sense, she's been very strategic and she has been very smart in the way that she's gone about it.
Last question for this conversation. I wanted to find out, if someone is listening now and they're thinking, okay, how do I even craft this strategy, And after crafting the strategy, also in terms of thinking of the different options I might have in terms of marketing my business, which ones can you mention that, people can look into, like channels, marketing channels that, or promotion methodologies that they can use to market their business, thinking especially from the small business kind of understanding?
Okay, so I would say the first decision or the first set of data that you need to look at, remember most we're dealing with 4 Ps when it comes to marketing and promotion. So it's the product itself, it's the price of the product, it's how you are promoting the product, and it's where you are promoting it to, right? The place aspect of it. So you then need to decide, going back to what I mentioned earlier, is promotion and marketing going to give my business a unique differential advantage, a unique selling point, or is the promotion and the marketing going to add maybe to the price aspect or the product aspect of the marketing mix? So that's one of the first decisions that you need to look at. You need to decide, okay, here's the brand. I've invested time and money into it. It is what it is. It looks good. It's ready to get into the market. But will the promotion and the marketing and the distribution give me a unique selling advantage? If the answer is yes, then you now need to look at the product. What product is it? Is it a soft drink? Is it an alcoholic beverage? Is it a clothing label? Is it a service like what I'm offering? Then once you get down to that and you understand the product or the service that you're offering, can then look at the different options. Maybe you want to distribute flyers and the month end, intersection. Maybe you want to go online. Be exclusive to different online platforms. Everyone has a social media account nowadays. Doesn't matter how active it is. So you could even use your social media, take out an ad in your local newspaper. Obviously, at some point, you would then need to look at radio. Earlier on, you had a nice, I don't know what you call it, maybe a promo.
An ad.
Yes,
an
stating,
advert.
About what Uvugani can do for a small business. So those are the different options that you can look at depending on what the product is, what the target market is, because you have to remember as well that whatever promotional activity that you are doing, the consumer is the one that you are serving. The consumer, what the consumer says goes. What the consumer does, it will actually help or break your business. So those are the two decisions. One, who is the consumer, and what is the product satisfying in terms of the need, and is the marketing or the promotion going to give me a unique selling proposition?
Interesting. Thank you so much, Chumani, for your time. Before you go, your contact details.
Yes, so it is on WhatsApp and calls 068 543 8272. 068 543 8272.
Sure.
And then on email, it is Chumani, CUMANI, at requisitesba.co.za.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much, sis.
All right, Kempula of Ghana Community Radio. That was Chumani Nobongoza. He is from Requisite. He's the founder and a business consultant, Payana, and you can be able to engage further with him if you would like to. On his number for calls and WhatsApp is 068-543-8272. You can also drop him an email on tumani@requisitespa.co.za. Okwangoku masiye pha entengisweni. And when we come back, we are going to be looking at some of the very important points he made around the strategy with your marketing